like we're going to win.
Yes.
When you have a great first quarter, you're like, this is going to be the best year ever, right? And you're like doing a dance and then all of a sudden going, what? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
What is happening right now?
Hey there, friend. It's Stephanie Crevens, and you're listening to the Mid-Level Leaders Hot Mess Hotline, where we bring on CEOs and entrepreneurs so you can learn the secrets to their success. So hopefully you can become one too, if that's what you want in your career. All right, my friends. Today we have Mike Sipple Jr. on the call. He is known throughout the world by family businesses for two reasons. One, he owns a third-generation family-owned boutique executive firm called Centennial Executive Search out of Newport, Kentucky. And second, him and his father, Mike, also are the co-founders of a growing global leadership program called the Talent Magnet Institute, utilized by organizations to invest more intentionally in their people. He also hosts the Talent Magnet Leadership Podcast that reaches 80 different countries and 47,000 people, discussing how to help leaders succeed in relationships, work, community, and life. This podcast was announced as a can't miss that managers must follow in 2021 by the Society for Human Resource Professionals. This podcast boldly tackles real-time, challenging issues that leaders face every day. The links are going to be in the comments of the show notes, so listen in if Mike's story resonates with you. It's all about optimizing teams, building inclusive and equitable cultures, and empowering others to not feel the loneliness and fatigue that oftentimes comes with being at the top of the org chart. And if this speaks to you, Mike also wants to share with you his community through the Talent Magnet Institute to try it out for just $1. So click on those links and join in. Don't feel lonely in your position and learn the leadership tricks that it takes to stay in it for the long haul. All right, friends, let's dig into my conversation with Mike and the lessons that he has learned. I'll give you a little preview. One is he launched big time into the start of 2020 and then watched as his business, I don't want to say collapse, but it was hit hard by the global pandemic and what he's done as a leader to walk out of that. And towards the end, something that he shares with all of us is that you are an inspiration. And I believe that too. So keep listening into how you can be an inspiration as a mid-level leader, and let's go. Mike, tell me about this hot mess.
Well, Stephanie, I'm still, I have to admit, I'm still kind of living in it. So we're going to work together through some of what we're battling.
Fair.
And I'll really, it's been a 2-year hot mess. I had the distinct pleasure of taking over my family business 6 years ago and made a decision 2 years ago to purchase a piece of property in the midst of me launching a new company, and then got smacked in the face with a pandemic. So,
because when it rains, it pours, sir. Just bring it on.
When it rains, it pours. And, I would be not being honest if I didn't tell you that my last 2 years have been the toughest 2 years of my life. Lots of stress, lots of anxiety, lots of realization that, not every decision I made and the timing I made it was right. Not every expense and thing that we've done, especially in the last year, you could say poor timing, but what are you going to do when you're passionate about something and you know that it's the right thing, right? Yes. And letting my foot off the accelerator, I tell people often, fortunately, I've got some amazing advisors which have kept me sane during all of this, but I don't take my foot off the accelerator well.
I feel you.
It's like you got to kick my foot off the acceleration. Right? But, and some of this has meant, tough financial decisions, working diligently to make sure our people are protected. And sometimes that means that I'm not first, right? My others around me are first, and working through refinancings and tough financial decisions and barriers that are put up while running two companies
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of this process. So again, when you're making decisions and you have a vision, which I know many of you listeners do, the learning experiences are where we find ourselves grow. So I was just today sharing with someone, I made a huge decision when we launched our digital leadership platform for Talent Magnet Institute to drop some change on a advertising campaign that failed miserably, in my opinion, i.e. zero results. And, was it a terrible mistake? Not necessarily. I learned from it,
Yes.
right? What not to do. We were messaging all wrong. And that's hard when you're the CEO of that and have to, I accept 100% responsibility. And if we wouldn't have done that, would we have known what we know now, where we've got almost over 100 companies in our platform, right? But we're doing all of this on very watched and monitored daily budgeting, closely held to some tough decisions that banks have had to make towards us and we've had to make towards banks. I've been in situations recently that I've never experienced in my life. Some of the people around me, AKA my father, is kind of excited about it, right? Because this is how you learn, son.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my gosh. You know what I just said today, Mike? So I got an email from a client and she's going to know who she is. And this situation came up and I was like, why are you emailing me? I'm not the adult in the room. And I was like, shoot, I'm the adult in the room. Oh no.
Yes.
You're looking to me for guidance on this. Okay. I don't know how to deal with this either. Let's go.
Yeah. Right. And all of these decisions, Stephanie, they don't just impact us emotionally. Our business was hurt by the pandemic. Not every company, not every person was, but we were really hit hard.
Yeah.
This first quarter of 2020 was the second best first quarter of my last 20 years. The fourth quarter of 2020, you could have shut off the lights and probably saved more money than was earned. Super difficult. And when these things take place in our lives, it doesn't just impact us, it impacts the people around us, right? It impacts my children. It impacts my relationship with my spouse, impacts my team. And those are the things you have to remember, that everybody's watching. Your energy and your experience and your fear, it's okay to let some of it out, right? But as I always say, fortunately, I have 3 a.m. friends that I can turn to, that I can have 3-hour dinners with, that I can call at any time of the evening or weekend and say, I just need some perspective.
Yeah.
Or I just need to vent and throw up on you and share here's everything that's going on and have you tell me that I'm not stupid and that I get it, and tell me if I'm crazy, because I know we're doing the right things. I know we're going to come out stronger. And am I going to have some wounds from it? Absolutely. But is it worth it? I think it is.
Well, so can we back up for a hot second back to record-breaking Q1 2020? And then on the other bookend is record-breaking for the opposite reasons, Q4 2020. A lot of businesses were in that place. Yeah. But walk me through. So you said you had 3 major kind of life events go down all in the same time frame. Walk me through. Well, let me frame it up this way too. So we're hitting a year anniversary here in the Midwest when the world shut down. We're recording this on March 10th. This will air in about a month. And about a year ago, this time is when we all went into lockdown.
You just gave me cold chills, by the way.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. This is why I have no friends. I bring up these things. So walk me through those first few weeks, that first month of pandemic hitting your business hot and heavy.
So again, to tee up for the listener, what you just said, reiterating that our business happens in 90-day cycles. My main business, which is an executive search firm, 90-day cycles. So you kick off a project. Within 90 days, you realize the income. And usually it's, you're constantly working really 180 days ahead. Last year, the experience was 2/3 of our business went away and projects extended almost double. So cash flow, I 100% agree that cash flow is king, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, I mean, there was a Harvard Business Review article that went out maybe in April of last year that talked about grief. I grieved that why us, why me, why 20 years to my career, we already came out of a tough year, right? That had some rocky situations.
Okay.
And you go into first quarter and you have a peak and you're like, yes, we are doing it. It is here.
Yes.
And then I remember March 12th, I believe it was. I think that was the Wednesday. I had an event I was hosting of 150 people the next morning. And I'm sorry, March 11th.
Okay.
So March 12th, I was hosting. March 11th, I got a call. We're going to cancel tomorrow's event. 150 people. I was the keynote. There was a group of speakers. Took months to coordinate, 6 months to coordinate this event. And from there, within 2 weeks, every project was shut down. Fortunately, there was still cash flow in the queue that was coming in. And it really caught up to us in the third quarter. Some of the triggers, which I know we'll get into later, is, you know what? The only way to get out of this is to give it our all, right?
Yes.
And, as a company that's been around for 46 years, we've had downturns, had them in the 80s, the 90s, 2001, 2008, and we've lived the cycle, and we're a leading indicator of lack of confidence and fear because people stop hiring, right?
Oh, okay.
We don't want to move on hiring a new president. Oh my gosh, what just happened?
Great intel. Okay.
Let's back up. And again, we still had projects, and I'm very honored and proud that I've got a kick-ass team who focuses purely on excellence, because our customer scores, our feedback, our being there as a confidant for people never been stronger. But, we kept it kicking into gear, and now it's paying off a year later, right? When the confidence is back. So we held our, I do say, it felt like somebody's holding my head underwater. I am gonna keep breathing.
Yes.
And that's the rally cry to the team. Be super transparent, be vulnerable, be emotional with our people, and let that out, right? I also made some of those in the midst of a train wreck. I started hiring for the Institute. So for our leadership development company, we started adding team members, sticking to the vision. This is what we're going to do. We raised outside capital during all of this at a whole nother job, right?
Yes.
And we started spending capital because our investors said, this is why we gave you the money, right? So in the midst of what is happening, it's like, I've got to go full steam ahead. That's a lot of emotional tension to manage through.
I would say that's such a roller coaster, a yin and a yang, watching cash flow down to the dime on this side and being, I don't want to use the word forced. No one's forced to do anything. Being asked, being propelled to spend money over here and invest in that vision. I do want to ask you, because I'm thoroughly with you. Times like these call for a new level of transparency. What did transparency look like for you to your team? So, and because we want mid-level leaders to understand, what can they do to be more transparent?
One is say, I'm going to be really transparent.
Okay.
and I don't want this transparency to concern you, because it is my responsibility, and I need you to stay engaged. I need you to stay engaged. But I also need you to know what's actually happening so that you can check on me too, right? And, and I ask for your prayers and your positive thoughts, because it is a battle, and I want to stay up, and I'm going to do everything I can to make the right decisions for each and every one of you and for my family. And we're going to get through this together. right? We will absolutely get through this together, and we'll be stronger on the other side, because that's what Centennial does. That's what our institute does, right? We're equipping others to do the same. We will be stronger on the other side.
Yes.
And then sharing what's actually happening. I mean, we've shared financials, we've shared situations that we're going through. We've shared, like, here are all of the proactive things that we're doing. And our team last year, because of that, I have never seen a team work harder. I've never seen a team quickly restructure itself to keep throwing fuel into the fire. Our team decided we're going to go forward with a new strategic plan during the pandemic. Like, we're going to start meeting with a strategist, and we're going to work on what does our future look like. I mean, we're like planning for the future while we're in the middle of the fire.
I love it.
And I think it brought a sigh of relief. I think it gave people energy. Like, yes, this is why we exist. This is what we're doing. This is why we work well together, right? Fortunately, in our scenario, I mean, we do have somewhat of a small company with 16 people, and we've got about 40 consultants that work for the Institute. You know, we didn't have any weak links. Like, everybody's rowing. And
fantastic.
You speed up and I'm right behind you, right?
Wow.
You hand me an oar, you've got your oar, we're going in unison. And that's what it felt like. It really felt like that. And I can't thank my team enough. We're not fully through the storm, right? But there is no doubt we, again, bought a piece of real estate. Our family's never done that before in 44 years of business. Launched a startup. Our legacy company got tanked. Take outside investment, hire a team, innovate, produce product while maintaining existing client relationship, while leading all of this and trying to balance family relationships, friendships, turmoil around every corner.
Sanity.
Sanity. I was also, during that time, Stephanie, the chairman of a business club here in Cincinnati. That, one day you'd get a call like, hey, tomorrow we actually have to shut down because the governor said so. And we were at the peak of membership for that club, right? I was a 2-year chairman. Things are rocking and rolling. What is happening right now?
Yes.
Like, why me? Right? That's where that Harvard Business Review article that I referenced on grief is so powerful, because it basically states everybody is grieving. Grief just looks different for everybody. Right? My major takeaway. And I was blaming why us, instead of saying, wow, how thankful should I be as a man of faith in, the good Lord above, that we had a great first quarter.
Yes.
If it weren't for that, I don't know where we'd be.
Yes.
Right? Instead of
that's the blessing of that time, is so many of my clients had a fantastic first quarter. It sustained them into Q2 cash flow wise, to give them enough time to pivot into Q3. So, yeah.
Right. And that's like, instead of, I will tell you, as a competitor, as a type A, like, we're going to win.
Yes.
When you have a great first quarter, you're like, this is going to be the best year ever. Right. And you're like doing a dance, and then all of a sudden going, what? Are you kidding me? What is happening right now? Right? And meanwhile, I am a positive person. So keeping a positive face versus being very transparent with what's really going on in my heart, in my mind, in my nerves, in my energy. I had to wrestle with that too. Like, I'm going to be vulnerable. Hopefully I put the right people around me who care enough that they're working for an owner who's vulnerable. And my team kept showing up, right? They kept working more efficiently together. They kept making decisions. I encourage you as mid-level leaders, if you think something, verbalize it.
Yes.
Right?
Speak up. Yes.
And if they don't, if they constantly, you're like, well, they don't care. Test that. If they don't care, go someplace else who cares. I'm a place who cares. And my team is like, Mike, I don't think we should do that. All right, we won't do that. Right. Do you have a better plan? Yep. Here's our plan. Here's our strategy. This is what we're going to get you in a meeting and tell you what we're going to do. And that's that's an encouragement, right?
Yeah.
People are stepping up. People aren't backing down. It's like they're stepping into the fight. Like, we're in it together, man. And we're going to lock arms and rock and roll and let us know what you need. So, having that kind of suit of armor around me with my people has been incredibly helpful. Having friends and advisors that are like, and can we get together? Let me make sure. We've changed business processes. We've done a lot in the midst. 2 weeks before the pandemic, we implemented our new enterprise software and we rolled out Microsoft 365. So we went into a new office platform coming off of like 2010. And then we implemented what we call an applicant tracking system, which is basically like your ERP, your warehouse management system if you're in the manufacturing or service business. We rolled it out 2 weeks before the pandemic. All of the projects come to an end. Our team was like, sweet, we can actually work on rolling this out effectively, right?
Yes.
So just that positive vibe that, we got this. You know what, we're going to take advantage of this, and we're going to use the time to be proactive because they know we're behind them, right? And I think that's important that they knew that. And then I could feel, man, they are so behind me.
Yeah. So before we I want to go to commercial break here in a second. And before we talk about how 2021 has unfolded for you and kind of how you're working your way out of this hot mess and the decisions that go into it, I want to know, what were your conscientious steps that you did before 2020 to build this team that was ready for a global pandemic? They didn't know it at the time, but they were ready to rock and roll. What did you do as a leader to support this, to create it, to bring people together before the global pandemic?
Yeah, it's like preparing the team to go into battle before battle has arrived, right?
Yes.
And, so some of the things that I hear and, I profess, I coach, I talk about is my team knows I trust them and they know they have full autonomy and authority to make decisions, and they can come to me and say, hey, how far can I go? What does that mean? But they know they've got a sense of confidence. I talk a lot about bringing out the greatest good of those on our teams. And I do believe, because of what they've shared with me, this isn't egotistical. This is more humble experience. I'm living out the culture that I want my team to experience. I am transparent. I am caring. I am loving. I care about them beyond their work outputs, right? Like, their lives matter to me and I want to help them be successful. And guess what? In turn, they give me an incredible gift of doing the same, right?
Yes.
So that's one, being there for them and they're there for you. I think the other thing is having the right advisors and partners. If I didn't have the right CPA in place, if I didn't have the right banking relationships, if I didn't have the right friends and board, and if I wasn't in a CEO roundtable where I can bounce ideas off of people who have been there before, and I wasn't willing to go and sit with people who have experienced tough times to say, I am living my toughest time in my career, right? 21 years in, on one hand, I'm on the top of the world. We're doing some amazing things that's life-changing and transformational, both at Centennial and the Talent Magnet Institute. But, why me? Like, why is this happening? So, and again, I think part of knowing that, so we interact with leaders all over the world, coaches, consultants, podcast hosts, organizations, knowing that the entire world, friends in Australia, to Dubai, to Barbados, to Spain, to Paris, everybody's Madrid, everybody's dealing with the exact same problem. That was also somewhat helpful. So having a global network to not be so insulated that I was only seeing through my blinders helped a lot. Those are just some of the thoughts I have to what you asked. I'm happy to share more if there's something that you want more of.
No, that's beautiful. I mean, I love sharing the stories of the leaders who saw their team rally together. The glue got stronger, the company got stronger because the trust was there. It just got amplified during the global pandemic. It's a beautiful thing to see that I wish for everyone in their workplace. It's just not, it just wasn't true. Because stress, as you know, has multiple ways of rearing its ugly head. And one of them is to disconnect from people, to stop trusting, to try to go it alone. In these teams that have come together, I think there's so many lessons that were learned during that time that need to be captured and remembered and carried on when we're not in the middle of a freaking global pandemic. Like, we need to remember what we do on a daily basis and how that drama brought us together, but we can hold on to some of that as we continue forward through the recovery.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you for sharing this past year with us. Let's go into commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of the bright spots, the bright days ahead based on what you've learned so far. This season of the Hot Mess Hotline is brought to you by my Hot Mess Quiz. One of the common lessons that my clients learn during coaching is how to really evaluate a problem, dissect it for clarity, and then take action on the tasks that really move the needle. The Hot Mess Quiz can bring you that focus too. As a leader, your work life is full of, well, work. But according to Pareto, 80% of that work isn't even impactful. If you need to create growth and change, you need to focus in on what truly matters and what will drive new results. Take the Hot Mess Quiz by clicking on the link below, which is stephaniecrevens.com/Hot Mess Quiz. You know, just like this podcast promised, and this is in the real world too, what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real? That's what you're going to get in this report. It's going to be tailored to your business hot mess to tell you exactly where to focus your efforts first, and then how to bring your team along to get the change that you need to create. Go to stephaniecrevens.com/Hot Mess Quiz. Don't wait another minute to start becoming the pro troublemaker you've always wanted to be. All right, Mike. Now, so as we mentioned, we're recording this March 10th, 2021. We're rounding out the first quarter of our year. We're heading into the second quarter. Where is the team now? Where is the company now?
You know, one, we're very thankful to so many clients and organizations that are, that utilize us, that are things are turning back on, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
From all of the public relations work we did, all of our communications work, all of our reach out, all of our connectivity, immediately pays off, right? Because when confidence has built, I mean, there's an increase in confidence right now that we're seeing that, at least for us, the early indicator is we're starting to turn some corner. Not rapidly fast, like we were told that would happen by all of the analysts, right? But it's happening, and people are making decisions,
Yes.
So I have engaged with more clients in the last 8 weeks than I did 6 months of last year. We're rocking and rolling again. We're back. In the meanwhile, Talent Magnet Institute has over 100 organizations in the platform.
Amazing.
So I was talking to a local friend who's a big time executive, super well known in my region, Greater Cincinnati. And, I was joking with him like, dude, why didn't you tell me a startup was so hard? And he's like, dude, you launched it. You blew out the platform in the middle of a pandemic, right? Like, we got to talk about that.
Yes.
But we did it. Our team did it. Our clients needed it. We talk all about, like, keep investing in your people.
Amen. Amen.
So you go into a situation where you have to, unfortunately, let people go. Let the people who you still have.
Yes.
That you value them. And
yes,
our clients have. So that's where we, an area where we serve.
I do want to say real quick, because my Q4 was similar to your Q4, but luckily I had the cash flow to make it all work. But I was nervous in Q4 with everyone waiting until the new year, like something magic was going to happen on January 1st, 2021. And I was like, oh my God, I hope the new year means they're going to make decisions to move forward on work, not make decisions to not move forward. And I've experienced the same thing. It was like, okay, everybody's ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good sign for us, right?
Wonderful.
The good thing is we're all there for our clients.
Of course.
People know, and we love what we do, right? You love what you do. It shows, and people need that energy right now.
Yes. Yes.
Right? They need to be around people that are like, yeah, we are here for you and we are ready to serve.
Yes. Yes. Yep. I felt that very distinctly. As soon as the pandemic hit, I knew my role was to serve. How can I serve? And because like you, Q1 was amazing, landed my biggest contract ever. And I'm going into a staff meeting, I think it was March 12th, to present this to the entire staff with the CEO. And the latter half of the meeting was, well, we're going to transition from working from home voluntarily. And by the next morning, it was office is shut down. 1 week later, it's projects on pause. I'm like, no, this was going to be amazing. We were going to transform the culture. And so, that's okay. Things happen, totally get their perspective. But because that project dropped off, I was able to serve other clients in more effective ways because I had some presence. So I'm very proud of that. But yeah, it's how do I serve? Because my business has been purposefully built with variability in mind. And so for me, it wasn't the stress that other folks have. And I was like, I'm here, I'm ready. Like, my problems are not your problems. Mine are minuscule, like being without a dryer for 10 weeks during the pandemic because of the supply issues, like hashtag first world problems. That is not a problem. And so I'm like, I'm here, I'm ready. I'm going to put in the 80 hours it takes because that's what you need. So I digress, but sometimes the question is just, how can we serve? What can we do? So what do you need?
It's hilarious to me that your dryer went out because ours did too. Our dishwasher went out, which again,
ours too. Yes.
I had 2 hot water heaters in my office building blow. Like,
oh my God.
Like one of them was spewing over, like pouring water over the electricity.
I didn't know that was possible.
I didn't either, but it happened. I mean, you can add all of these things up and you're like, how, like it's crazy,
Yeah, too much.
Growth-minded leaders, we're better because of it.
Yes.
Think about how we can speak in the future when difficult times are happening, and it's going to happen again. Things happen again.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we're stronger because of it. We can experience things that others either have experienced or will. And, now we can lead from it.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. So where are you as a leader moving into the rest of this economic recovery that's still 2 years ahead of us?
Yeah. So, where I'm at is full steam ahead. We've got 2 strategic plans in place. I'm surrounded by incredible humans who give it their all. My goal is to continue to inspire, continue to figure out how to get out of their way, and motivate them to do things they never thought was possible, and be here and be a voice into the world, right? We do that through our podcast, Talent Magnet Leadership Podcast. We do that through talentmagnet.com. We do that through centennialinc.com. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. As a business owner, as a family business owner, I can tell confidently we're not going anywhere. Things may look different. We may do things differently. We may be surrounded by other people, but our team's here, our services are here, our views are here, our strategies are here. And we're we are guns blazing through this work and what we're doing. And add everything else in with social unrest and racial unrest and all of that. Like, I'm going to be a megaphone for these conversations as well, with the brand that we have, because my friends and clients are struggling through a lot of this dynamic and people are hurting, and I need to stay positive and I need to take care of myself because we're useless if, I like to say leaders can't drink from an empty cup. Right. And so I've got to keep perspective up. My kids need that. My family needs that. My team needs that. And I'm also not going to be fake about it. So whether I got to get counseling, whether I got to surround myself with good people that I can rely on, like all of those things are okay. So that's kind of where where we are. And lean on those around you. I lean on my board a lot right now. I lean on my team. They can lean on me and we can prop each other up. Right?
What do you wish mid-level leaders knew about being in your shoes?
Yeah, great question. We are really all the same, right? We all have the same thoughts and everybody has struggles.
Yes.
Everybody has challenges. We are all the same. And as I like to say, Stephanie, we are not alone. No one should feel alone. There's nothing that we go through that we're the only one who's ever experienced it.
That's right.
And that piece is super important. It's hard to accept because we don't want to think that wow, no, if anybody went through this, they'd be like people have experienced stuff. You're not alone. So that's the big part. We're all the same, right? We all climb, we all look at aspirations. We all have to check quality over quantity. We all have to make sure our goals are worthwhile, things like let's live in the now, not in the future. Let's think about the future, plan for the future a little, but also enjoy life in the now. And you are an inspiration. My team inspires me every single day.
Yes.
And I pray, I hope that through the work that we do, that we're lifting up leaders who have that same emotion towards their own teams. A lot of our work, Stephanie, is in that mid-level talent development space. We want to help you bring out your greatest good. We want to create a culture where you're doing the same for others. We want you to be surrounded by the right people. Those are just some of the things that I take away when I hear what you asked, that hopefully it's an inspiration to someone that's listening.
Yeah. What I hear in your response is that, one, we're all human, right? We look to our leaders as if they have it all figured out. Mm-hmm. And I know enough about leaders and myself to know I don't have it all figured out. But two, be the inspiration where you are. Don't rely on your CEO to motivate, engage, and inspire the entire company. Be part of that inspiration. I've said for a long time, I had an experience in my career a long time ago. We are the Holy Spirit to each other. Because we take action, we set the universe in motion for other people to do what they're called to do. And it's been true in my life, and I've seen the ripple effect when I take action. So that's something that gives me great joy in this world. Last question, I'll let you go. What do you wish mid-level leaders would do to support the organization and top leadership, especially when times get tough?
So it's amazing you were asking the question of exactly something I was thinking. You're the leader that you want tomorrow. You are the leader that you desire tomorrow.
Yes.
We all think about, we want something else to show up, right? We want someone else to do something to make things better. And we are that person. You're a reflection in the mirror. You want to change the world. You wish things were different. Mm-hmm. You wish people had different experiences. You wish the world was more inclusive and equitable, and more loving and kind and caring and less anxiety driven, less stress driven. We wish we could take the foot off the accelerator more often, and we can. Right? So don't think there's another prince or princess that's in shining armor that's going to pull you out of it. You are that person.
Yes.
Right? And that's the piece that all of you need to be empowered by. That means you should show up different tomorrow.
Yes.
That means you should show up different this morning or this evening for those around you, right? We can all get a little bit more proactive, productive. We can all change. You can all step into situations when we hear microaggressions, when we hear negativity, when we hear gossip. We can all shut that down.
Amen.
You don't have to wish someone else would, right?
Yes.
So be the leader that you desire tomorrow to show up or in the future. If if you were to write a book, think about, if I were to write a book about what I wish happened, you are the wish, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that's the piece that we got to stop wishing something else would be the hero of the story.
Oh, yes. Could not agree more. Could not agree more. I hope that the pandemic has taught our listeners that, one, there's way more out of your control than you probably realized a year ago. And I hope that through this past year, you've also realized there's way more inside of your control than you think that there is, including your mindset, your actions, how you show up, how you talk to people. That is all on you as an individual. So
that's awesome.
Thank you, Mike, so much for this conversation, for sharing your wisdom and your your hard-earned wisdom over this past year. We've all been through it together for sure. So just thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us.
Stephanie, thank you for everything that you do and every conversation you lead. I appreciate having the opportunity to meet your listeners, and I look forward to the next opportunity as well.
Awesome. I love it. We're gonna be friends forever. I'm just calling dibs on Mike Sipple right here.
Love it.
All right. That is my powerful conversation with Mike, talking about his lessons learned from the last year over the course of 2020 and how the pandemic unfolded and the social unrest, as well as where he sees him and his company and his team going into the future, into the economic recovery that is ahead of us. Here are my lessons learned, and I would love to hear yours wherever you're listening or watching in. 1, do you have 3 a.m. friends? Do you have those people that you can call in the middle of the night when you're so stressed you can't sleep and you just need support? And if you don't, please get to work on finding those folks. I have them. I adore them. I call them my ride or die tribe. And the quickest way to get a 3 a.m. friend is to become a 3 a.m. friend. Be that for the world. Next, did you hear how Mike knew his business cycle, right? He said, we work on 90-day cycles and we're always working 180 days ahead. Do you know your business that well too, as a mid-level leader? Do you know the sales cycle? Do you know how fast y'all burn through cash? Do you know what it takes to fully implement whatever it is your company does from all perspectives? The lesson that comes up on this podcast over and over again is, if you want to be in the C-suite, you need to know your business intimately. Are you there yet? Start asking those questions so that you can learn your business as well as your CEO knows your business. The next lesson that I took from that conversation, did you hear the language choice that he used around how his team took advantage of the time that they had? I think that is one of the most powerful gifts that resilient, resourceful, optimistic people can use, is using that language that reflects opportunity. So for example, I recorded this outro already and then it didn't save. So now I get the opportunity to record it again and make it even better. Don't use downtime as an excuse to be frustrated. Every business has a cycle throughout the year. You're going to have up times, you're going to have down times. Are you and your team prepared for the downtime so that you can take advantage of it to support the business in another kind of way? And use that language. These are opportunities. These are advantages. These are spaces and times to be creative. Make that language choice and make that mindset shift, my friend. Lastly, and this one just touched me in the heart because I hear it a lot. I hear a lot of people blaming their CEO for the culture, blaming their boss for X, Y, and Z, blaming that employee that's on their team that they didn't hire and didn't want, and that's why they can't be successful. Driven, successful entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs take full accountability and show up as the leader that they want to be today. They don't complain that the CEO is not creating the culture that they want. They show up in an intentional way to be the leader that their team deserves right now. One of the questions that I think resilient people ask themselves is, in 10 years, in 5 years, what story do I want to tell about what kind of leader I am today? And are you able to say with full integrity that you're leading that story and doing those behaviors today for the story you want to tell in 5 and 10 years? Get in integrity with yourself so that you can tell the story you want to tell about your leadership in the future. I believe that is a key skill to being resilient, keeping your eye on the long term while living in the present. All right, my friend, let's get off the internet. Let's be pro troublemakers that get the real, most important and urgent work done for our businesses. And I'll see you next time.